everyone. It is me, Sailor Earth, Ernest here, or Ernest P. Worrell here, and today I'm going to talk about something that, well, why I choose not to choose. Now, a lot of folks in this, if you're in a folk Reich, then you have a say in your Gaver Reich Ultimer Near law motes. Some kingdoms you have this right to, some folk Reichs. Now, first off, why Dwayne chooses not to vote, what I never did was the whole mud flinging thing. That was the throw off right there. You see, the hang up behind that is that we get it. Folks are not flawless. Folks make mistakes. Folks have done or said things in the past that weren't good. But this whole mud throwing thing or dirt throwing or whatever you want to call it makes both sides look bad. It makes both folks think, yeah, well, they're both, you're both fucked, you know, because they always will bring up all the wrong things or all the bad things they'll do if you choose them to either be the borough elder or the earldom elder or the Reich elder or the Vorsetter. Or if you choose them to be a folk mote or a winnemote or something like that or a high deaver. It's almost if these folks want to either overthrow the law mote or they want to shift the way that the Gaver Reich Earldom law mote run. And we know at the end of the day it's bullshit. It will never happen. The Wanted Reichs has been around for 245 years, and if someone had come close to either overthrowing the Gaver Reich Earldom law mote, shifting its laws and oversights, it has never happened. Alright? So, a lot of folks like to do this. They say that. So then you say, well, why would I choose? Because either way, I'm going to get fucked. You think. You're in a bind. But if you don't choose, then either way, you're in a bind, but at least you didn't choose which one was going to wrong you. So, but that's what I don't like about this whole thing. It makes both sides out to look bad, and then it's like, well, you can't trust one side because they want to raise your income toll. The other side wants to take your rights away from you, which, let's be earnest, they cannot take your rights away from you. Yes, income toll can be raised up and down. It always goes up. Yeah, income toll can be raised. It can be low. It can be raised. It can be unraised. Yeah, but as far as taking one's rights away, no. But they always have to have these boosterings and showings that say, don't choose so and so because they're going to do this. They're going to do this. They're going to make laws and oversights to do this. Or they're going to raise your income toll this. Or they're going to take your rights away from you. Or whatever the fuck they come up with to get you to hate so and so. When you don't even know so and so. When you don't even know if so and so is as bad as the boostering and showings make them out to be. And then you think, well, there's the other side. And since in the Wanted Rights you only have two lawmaking gatherings that are strong enough to have folks, you think, well, then they say the same thing about the other side. So you can't win because the other side is, they're going to shift, they're going to make laws, they're going to make oversight to take your rights away, they're going to raise income toll, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. So then you can't win with them. So what do choosers do when they end up seeing boosterings and showings, not only on the Farseer, but on the Reckoner through the interweb and on the wire here and the wireless? What do? That's hard. They had to do some thinking, They got to think about who they gotta make up their own mind of what they believe and what they don't believe. Because there are some folks out there who will believe in what the boostering and showings tell them and not what their heart tells them and not what they think themselves. I think it's like a way of playing up on someone's fears to get them to choose them. Not that they're going to do good work or not, but only on the grounds that they think someone else is going to do bad work. And it would say that you're a lawmaker, and would say you don't do that. Like if I was a lawmaker, I wouldn't do any of that. I wouldn't do mudslinging. I wouldn't, make up anything about anyone. Hell, I wouldn't say anything about anyone if it was true. Even if you don't, and the folks that work with you or work for you don't, there's going to be someone out there that is going to do it, either for you or against you. They're going to say something like, oh, well, Ernest P. They're going to say, well, you can't trust Ernest P. Worrell and the Gavver, the Reich, or the Aldermanier law moat because he never worked at any of those law moats. He's a klutz and he's a ditz, you know, and you don't want him to be your borough elder or your earldom elder or your Reich elder or your forsetter. You don't want him to be a folk moat or a folk moat or a Winnemalt folk folk moat. You don't want to be any of that stuff. You know how that goes like. So at the end of the day, I just keep out of it. And a lot of folks like to talk about how, oh well, you have a right to say who runs your law moat. Yeah, well I got a right not to say too. It goes both ways. Everybody likes to talk about how you have the right to say who runs your law moat, but you also have the right not to say too. So anyway, that's why I keep out of it. It's the whole dirt throwing. I guess you could call it scathing, I guess you want to call it, or something, whatever you want to call it. It's not a new thing. It's always been in lawmaking since folk rights became a thing. It's always been that's always been a thing ever since there were folk rights, which keep earnest, folk right isn't really a young form of law moat, but it's the only kind that, has a very short yesteryear. Before I end this film, uh, Romish land was a folk right for some time, but it didn't last very long. And Hellenaz, or Hellenic land was a folk right, or at least Athens was for some time, but it didn't fully last. And yes, the Netherlands may have been a folk right a little bit in the beginning. It didn't last that long. And yes, Venice may have been a folk right for some time. But the Wanted Reichs was probably the first land to become a folk Reich and keep itself as a folk Reich. But anyway, enough about that. If you like this film, follow me over here at Sailor Moon for Life. Watch the last film we made yesterday over here. I am Sailor Earth, Ernest P. Worrell, and I'll see you later. Bye.